Shulam Aleichem, everybody. Today's daf is daf Samach Beis. We start a new parak Hasoicher Sapoil. I'm sure you could see I'm not in my usual environment. I'm traveling right now. You can see I'm in a hotel room, the bed behind me, and the screen on top over here. But we are focused on the daf. Zuk the Heilige Mishnah Naya Perik Hasoicher Sapoil. Somebody who hires a yid, a non-Jew, an oivet kechavim, who hires a yid. Lasis imoy b'yayin nesach, to make yayin nesach with him, and he pays him. He hires him daily or weekly. My Rebbe used to say he gets paid weekly, very weekly. Okay, so either way, he hires him to do yayin nesach. Schoroi aser. The schar is aser. Sachar lasim emelocha acheres. But if the hire was for different work, not for yayin nesach, even though in the middle he said shalom lehavli chadash yayin nesach v'kol makom schar mutter, right? That was a by the way. That's okay. Then the schar is mutter. Hasir chesachamar lo b'layin yayin nesach. Somebody who hires a donkey from a yid to transport yayin nesach, schar aser. Schar is aser. But if he just he rented the chamor from the yid to sit on it, and by the way, he put some of the yayin nesach to transport the yayin on the chamor, schar mutter. Then the yid is allowed to have enough from the schar. Okay. So the Heilige Gemara, my time is schar aser. Why is the schar aser? We just said in the Mishnah that if a guy hires a non-Jew and he pays him to do yayin nesach with him, the schar is aser. If you're going to tell me because aser b'hana, that's why. The schar that you get for Isurei Hana, for working Isurei Hana, is also aser. Asks the Gemara, you see that Arlik Lakerim, they are aser b'hana. You're not allowed to have enough from Arla the first 3 years that the fruits grow on a tree in Eretz Yisrael. Right? It's Isur Deraisa. The 4th year is not Teravah, you bring it to Yerushalayim, you eat it, but it's aser b'hana the first 3 years. And Klei HaKerem, Kalaim is also aser b'hana. And yet, state that if he sells it and uses the money to be Mekadesh a woman, it's Mekadeshes. So you see that the money he receives instead of the Isurei Hana, it's not the Isurei Hana itself, is mutter. So why over here is schirus for yayin nesach, when you hire yourself out to work with a guy for yayin nesach, it's aser. Says the Gemara, Lahoil v'toifes is dam avodas kechavim, because the damim, it's toifes as dam of ka'avodas kechavim. It carries over to because the Isser Hana of Avodah Zarah carries over to the money that you receive for the work you have done with the yayin nesach. Ask the Gemara, it's a lashon mechira, right? If he says, go sell the value of the yerek was shvius, you're not allowed to do malacha or schayra. Yeah? And the halacha is, it's aser. Whatever value, whatever money you receive for it, it's aser. Rashi says, "Schari aser l'shois achas manabir." It has all the dinei shmita. L'koit li yerek hayayim schara moter. But if he says l'koit li, it's a lashon schirus, not a lashon mecher. So the damim of the schirus is nitfas b'kedushas shvius. It's only if it's a lashon of a mechira that the damim is nitfas b'kedushas shvius, but not schirus. So the Gemara asks over here in the Mishnah, we're talking about schirus. So why is the damim nitfas be'isr yayin nesach be'isr avodas kechavim? Okay, so the Gemara Amar Baval Rabbi Yochanan knasu shekan tzacham b'chamarim b'yayin nesach. It's a knas, special knas. Yayin nesach adamorin. That's our Mishnah. Chamorin ma'i. What's the case of chamorin? Where do we find chamorin? Where the chachamim cancel them on the money. On the money they receive for the work they're doing on Peiros Shemitah. The Tanya, Hachamorin sha'isem mulacha v'Peiros Shviyas. Chamorin are those people who are delivery people, right? They carry Peiros Shvius from one place to another. They're donkey drivers, Uber drivers, ancient Uber drivers, donkeys. Chamorin shayo oisen melacha Peiros Shvius schar and Shvius. My schar and Shvius. What does it mean schar and Shvius? Ilam they have en lo schar and Peiros Shvius. That you can give them schar from Peiros Shmita. That's what it means. That can't be the pshat in the Bryce. The Bryce allows the chamorin to be paid with Peiros Shmita. That's chayra. You're not allowed to do that. That cannot be the pshat. What it means is that whatever money they receive for their work that they're doing with the Peiros Shmita, the delivery that they're doing with the Peiros Shmita, their schar is also kadosh b'kedushas shvius. The Gemara says, what? Ami kadosh? The money they receive for the delivery of Peiros Shvius is kadosh. So you see, any schir is done for the work that you're doing. The Peiros Shvius is mutter, right? That's why lekoitli yerek hayom schar mutter. So chamarin, their schar should be mutter. Rabbi Lo'olam Yavin L'Schar Peiros Shvius. No. Really, the pshat in the brisa is that you can pay chamorin who are transporting the Peiros Shvius with Peiros Shvius. You can pay them with the Peiros Shvius. There's a way. There's a loophole. You can do it even though the Torah says la'achlav l'schayra. Kedetnan la'yomer adam l'chaveiroi. Person shouldn't say to his friend, talk about Sheni. Hell li Peiros only Yerushalayim l'chalik. Bring me these Peiros to Yerushalayim l'chalik. Yeah, why not? To distribute. Rashi says, the chalik means he's referencing the chalik that the person who is bringing the Peiros Ma'aseh to Yerushalayim, what he's going to get. The chalik he's going to get. Why? Because then it looks like he is Pirei Achoy from Ma'aseh Sheni. Yeah, you can't be Pirei Achoy from Ma'aseh Sheni. He's saying, look, do me a favor. You bring my Peiros Ma'aseh Sheni to Yerushalayim. And you can eat it there, which is the mitzvah. The mitzvah is to Ma'aseh Sheni Yerushalayim. And from these peiros, you can take a certain percentage as payment for doing me this taiva. That's aser. Aval omer lehalim la'achlam v'leshtoisam b'Yerushalayim. But he can tell them to be oichel and shoisa b'Yerushalayim v'nois nezel lezeh matana shel chinam. Yeah? As long as he doesn't articulate it in a way where it's mafurish that he's perei achoy from these peiros to this fellow who's taking it to Yerushalayim, that's okay. He's got to say halem lo'oichla v'leshtoisa b'Yerushalayim. Bring it up and eat and drink Yerushalayim, and then you can take a little bit of matana. So Zukt Abaye, that over here too, we're talking about the chamorin taking a little bit of Peiros Shvius. So you're asking me, how can I pay them with Peiros Shvius? It says la'achla v'loy l'schayra. It depends how you articulate it. Wink, wink. If you say, here, I'm paying you with these peiros, then you're over allowed la'achla v'l'schayra. But if you say, look, enjoy some of the peiros, it's not mafurish that you're paying him with it, then it's okay. So in other words, it has to be received as a gift, not as schar. The Brisa really means it's Kadosh B'Kedushas Shvius. The Kashlach Poyel. Are you asking me from Poyel? Poyel, why is Poyel different than Chamarn? Poyel, we're saying by Shemitah that Schirus is okay. So why by Chamarn, who are transporting the Peiros Shvius, why is over there Schirus Aser? Says the Gemara, Poyel receives whatever piastir he receives for his work. That li'ala katsur rabbanon. Chamorin the nafesh agrayu katsu rabbanon. Chamorin nafesh agrayu katsu rabbanon behu. There they counted him, and they said the chamorin cannot receive Peiros Shvius in lieu of payment. Mastiz chomer di ya'inesach shiny, and by ya'inesach, even if it's just a poyel, and he receives just a little bit of schar for the work he's doing with the Nesach, that's still a chumrah, because chumrah the Nesach. Okay, still aser. Okay, boilu scharoi l'stam yeinan. Mao. What happens? Until now we learned it's mamish yayin nesach. Yayin nesach min ha'toyra, mamish, we know the guy used this wine as libations for his Avodah Zarah. Okay, that's Asr B'Hanam and Torah. But what about Yain Nesach? Stam Yainan. What about not Yain Nesach? Stam Yainan. Since Chazal were machmir on the Isser Hana as well by Stam Yainan, so maybe it has the same halachas with regards to schirus. Since with regard to the halachas of Tumah, Rashi brings down the Gemara Daf Lamed Beis earlier that the Isser Hana by Stam Yainan is only matama. By Stam Yainan, Tumah is Tumas Mashkin B'Revius, which is more lenient, and by Yain Nesach Mamish, it's Tumah Chamura B'Kazayas. So whatever it is, the level of Tumah is a lot more stringent when it comes to Yain Nesach Mamish, as opposed to Stam Yainan. So we see a Kula by Stam Yainan that Yain Nesach doesn't have. So perhaps the Kula of Scharoi would apply, Scharoi Mutter would apply to Stam Yainan, even though it doesn't apply to Yain Nesach. That's the Gemara Shaila. Toshama, the Gemara brings a Raya. The Hu Gavra, the Agar Arbel Stam Yainan. There was a fellow that rented his boat to transport to a guy and to transport the Stam Yainon Yov Lechita Ba'agra, and they paid him with wheat. Zil Kalinu v'Kavrinu. Here we're talking Stam Yainon, right? So Milo, that's the Raya right here. Raya is boom, Chizda Asir. But the Gemara is going to take apart the Lashon of Chizda told him. Zil Kalinu v'Kavrinu, go burn it and bury it. Asks the Gemara, just let him disperse it, and this way, once it's scattered, nobody can have enough from it. Says the Gemara, no, also by takola, might come a takola out of it. What's the takola? People will collect it again and they'll use it. They won't know it's Asr B'Hana. Asks the Gemara, let him burn it and then scatter it. Maybe it's going to be Mezabel Sadois, and that's a problem because then you have a Gana from the fertilizer of the ashes of the Chitim. Tais already points out, what do you mean? It's Zevel Zagoyrim, and we pass like Rabbi Yossi that it's mutter, right? The Zevel and the Karka is mutter, Zevel is Asr. So Tais says the Katchila, we don't rely on it. Okay, asks the Gemara, let him bury it as is. All the vehicles, all the tools he used for Dalit Mrs. Bezdin, Kulam Nikbar Mima. You have to bury it together with the Haruga Mrs. Bezdin. So you see that burying alone, right? You can't have enough from it, so burial alone is enough. Moshe said, no, over there it's enough. Over there, yeah, it's Bezdin who are burying them. They're burying them in a special Beis HaKvaros. Everybody knows that you can't touch whatever is buried there, and nobody's going to make a mistake. So here, if he buries the chitim as is, people are not going to know that this is Asr B'Hanam. Eimer inish ganav, they're going to say a person stole it. V'aisav kavino hacha. Bach changes it to kavrino, and he brought it and he buried it here. And so memela, you're going to be machshel people if you just bury it as is. So therefore, the halach is Rav Chizda Paskin. The best is kalinu, first burn it, and then the kabrinu, so it's not used as fertilizer, and it's not taken by other people who assume that it was stolen. Okay, so Lamaisa, the bottom line is, the halacha is, Rav Chizda, more proofs from the story of Rav Chizda, that even by Stam Yainan, right, Stam Yainan, Scharo Yasser. If you do malacha with a guy, you're hired by a guy to do malacha with Stam Yainan, it's not clear that it's Yain Nesach. The halacha is that it's Asr B'Hana, just like Yain Nesach. And the proof is from Chizda's story. So Tosfos has a problem with it. Yeah, Tosfos Tema, first wide line, so I'm always based on Tosfos. My raya maybe me'arva. What kind of raya is this? Shani Asim Danofish Agre. V'domi Lachamarin. Over there, you gave a whole boat. It's a boatload of Yain, of Stam Yainan. So there, the schar is tremendous schar, like the Chamarin, where we said earlier, by Chamarin, it's Asbana, because the Nafesh Agrayu. But how do you prove from Rav Chizda's story, case of the boat, that it's Asr even for a Poyel, right? Who Mamash receives a couple of piastres, a couple of dollars for working on Stam Yena with a guy. How do you know from this story that that's also Asr B'Hana? So Tosfos says, no, Yishloimer Kila Eschar Ki Ma'at Lavenar Kotn Lavakapoyel. It was a boat, but it was just a very small nahar, and he was receiving a couple of piaster like a poil, and therefore, yeah, from this story you could still prove the shaila of whether by stam yenon we also say schari aser. Okay, we'll stop over here.